Yo, what's going on, family? What's going on, Soul Tribe? Shout out to the tribe, man. Yeah, I planned this for a minute. I want to speak a bit more about the illusion of reality. Adding on to what we spoke about last time. Shout out to the Telegram forum. Shout out to all the Soul family. I'm not going to dwell too much. I'm still enjoying the company of my daughter. But because I said I was going to do this, she don't mind if I take an hour out and do this talk. We was having our own talks throughout the night and in the on the rising anyway. So yeah, I still feel like doing this live. Shout out to whoever you are that's joined us first and watching this. But yeah, I'm basically just going to do the same thing. My recommended read today is When We Ruled by Robin Walker. A very thick, massive, voluminous work, man. Meticulous work. When We Ruled, with the picture of Queen T, Kendaki T on the front. That's my recommended read for the day. It's massive. It's even bigger than Treasures in the Sun. And I like to boast about how big Treasures in the Sun is. This is about Treasures in the Sun and another half of Treasures in the Sun on top. It's a real monumental, voluminous work, man. So shout out to Robin Walker for putting out When We Rule. This is the second edition that I've got, but I'm sure you can find it quite easy. He's like seen as one of the most foremost authors, historians, when it comes to the black narrative in the UK. So he's like our most prominent UK scholar. I'm just gonna put some beats on in the background so that can have something playing in the background, you know. Shout out to Celestial Samurai for sending me all them tight beats, man. Like, yo, for real, the beats that you're sending me are taking my thoughts to a next dimension, man. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna put on some of those beats produced by Celestial Samurai just in the background rather than have the and then I'm gonna fire off on this mouth-watering discussion. Hopefully it will be a lot briefer than the last one. I'll try and keep it around 1 hour and not go too much over an hour. But let me see if I can find these beats to put on in the background. That'll create a nice atmosphere. Yo, is it this how much stuff I post in this Telegram where you have to be scrolling like? Hold on. And guys, like I said, feel free to put stuff in the comments as to like question what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not for you to just like, I'm not trying to convince anybody at anything. I'm trying to make you guys see that you're not alone when you're having certain thoughts about certain things. You're not alone, man. I wanted y'all to know that. So I can't even find these beats. Let me just put the on. Let me just put this on and leave it at that. I was having the same quantum discussions with my daughter this morning. shouldn't say morning, but you know what I mean. And she blew my mind with how much she's into this car. I didn't even knew she understood so much of that quantum entanglement stuff. I had to explain to her quantum entanglement.
Maximum volume.
She was watching a bit of the Living Library Live, crazy stuff. But she really did get it, you know. Right, where are you?
Maximum volume.
How come I can't hear this thing? So yeah, we should know from me having talks with you guys from a few times of how illusory reality is, and that especially based on the last live, the Living Library, going into quantum subatomic reasonings, we should already know that reality is not real. Even we're not talking about matrix, we're talking about reality, just in the concept of reality. We know reality is not real, right? Oh, so I can hear this thing. So why is it turned all the way down? Okay, here we go. It's not really real, you know? So with that being said, who panetu menonuchayu kawuna lulbi, who, he, she, the mother, father, creator, consciousness, who nothing exists except by way of the mother, father, creator consciousness, which is personified or manifested in the form of Anu, the heavenly one, and Antum, the heavenly consort, or Jah and Jala, yeah? The mother, father, creator, spirit. So yeah, we want to talk about the illusion of reality, building on what we spoke about in our last live, okay? First, we need to define reality by definition. Now, I'll be honest with you, I was supposed to go in the dictionary and get the definition for you, but somehow I never did it. But really, we can say reality is what we consider real, in real time, like our everyday interaction with our environment. We can say that's reality. Do you understand? Nature, the cosmos, physicality, solid, liquid, gas, all of that makes up what we're defining as reality by definition. If you go into the dictionary, you probably find the, like, you know, the Muzungu language definition where they tell you exactly what reality means by dictionary standards. I should have had that already done for you, but somehow I ain't got it. But I think that's what reality means in them terms. It's like reality is what we define as our living, everyday, moment to moment experience, right? But what if reality wasn't real? Just like in the Matrix when Morpheus is saying, listen, what do you define as real? Is it what you can hear? Is it what you can see? Is it what you can taste? Because basically it's all just a bunch of frequencies, a bunch of signals that you're interpreting. Remember what we said, inside of your head. You ain't interpreting that out. You ain't interpreting nothing outside of your head. So you're not seeing nothing out here. You're not hearing nothing out here. All of that's going on inside of your head. Yeah. Even though we call this what we're seeing outside of us, this outer manifestation of the world, we're calling this reality, right? So let's go back to how this holographic simulation, separate from the Matrix, how this natural holographic simulation that was built so that we could have all the experiences we know about. Let's go into a bit about how this began, how it originated, because we spoke about this before, but they deleted the video. I think it was the video was the Russian doll video, where I was explaining how this whole physical reality is just like smaller dolls inside of bigger dolls, like the Russian doll theory. Like you take one doll and then there's a smaller doll inside that, then you take out that, open that doll, there's a smaller doll inside that one, going all the way down to the smallest doll. It's the same when they opened King Tut's sarcophagus. They had sarcophaguses within sarcophaguses. There was about 7 shells, and it's only when you get down to the last 2 that is full gold, like the full gold coffin. The outer shells, some of them were made out of wood, some of them were made out of wood with gold leaf on them and stuff like that. But when you get down to the core, the real being, that was in a gold sarcophagus. So it's the same when we speak about reality and we speak about how universes are the biggest beings in creation. yeah? And then inside the universe, you have a smaller universe. And then inside the smaller universe, you have a smaller universe. Down to the point where we are a universe ourselves. Like I told you, we're a composition of hundreds of billions of atoms, yeah? And different parts coming together into one entity that you call your physical anatomy or body. It's the same with the universe, okay? So now, how this all started, this physical universe, if we go back 76 trillion years, 76 trillion years is the age of this physical reality based on our ancestral ancient teachings, okay? 76 trillion years. Remember what the Muzungu says, this earth is only 4.5 billion years old according to him. And so this universe is only 13.6 billion years old according to him. So we're speaking about 76 trillion years of information here. So Anu, the first Anu who manifested from the ether as a pure light being, as an ether being, coming from this consciousness, this unified consciousness as the Most High, he manifested on the spiritual plane what's called the square and the circle, what we call the square and the circle. The circle was placed inside of the square. And because the circle is exerting force in every direction, because a circle represents all points on the compass, north, east, west, south, is pointing in every direction in the fact that it's a circle. So the circle exerts an outward force that is pushing outwards. So when Anu made the cube and then put the circle inside the cube, because the circle is pushing and forcing in every direction, the square wasn't strong enough to hold the force of this circle. So the square exploded and turned itself inside out. And that's how you get the first atom on the spiritual plane, or the building block of the physical creation, what we're calling atoms today. That was the first atom. And out of the first atom, when it's split down, it multiplies into 2 and 2 into 4 and rare. And this goes back to the Megillah teachings when we're talking about the one that becomes one another and multiplies into numbers and comes back into itself. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So Anu manifested this sacred science, which is called sacred geometry, on the spiritual plane. And like we said in the last live, the Living Library, it started with the Nukta, or what's called the Nagut in Egyptian language, because them Arabs stole that shit from us. The Nagut was the black dot, or the egg of Ra, yeah, in our science. They took that concept and called the Nagut, they changed it into Nukta in Arabic, and they use it as a full stop in their grammar, Arabic grammar, in their new Arabic Fusha. But they stole that concept just like everything else, okay? So Anu was the one who created that circle, or that black egg of Ra. And remember what we said, it's of infinite density. What that means is that little black dot is probably bigger than what we're thinking, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a black dot. That little black dot of infinite density, it means if I could pinch one, like, let's say a pinhead worth of that material, that would be heavier than this whole planet, because it's zero density. It's like, it's got infinite weight. It's got infinite potential. Do you see what I'm saying? The power in that one dot, that, I remember what we said, that dot contained all the ingredients within it. So we're talking about all the elements from hydrogen, the lightest element on the periodic table, all the way up to oxygen, yeah? So we're talking about all 99 elements was contained in this nothingness, which manifested in this black dot of zero density. You got plasma in there, or liquid fire. You've got certain different positive and negative forces within this black dot. That was created by Anu. Remember what we said in the last slide, that the dot, or that circle, became a line, and the line became a wall, and the wall became a cube, and sacred geometry was born. Because once you create the cube, you've created the circle. Both of them are 360 degrees. They're quantitatively, in mathematics, the same thing, especially on the spiritual plane. Whereas on this physical plane, we think it's two different things, a circle and a square. Really, it's heads and tails, it's the same thing. When you create a square, inside of the square is a circle. You can get 360 degrees, draw a circle, perfect circle inside of that square. So this is how sacred geometry was formed. And in this realm of 3D physical matter, where we can ascend upwards, it's based on the circle and the square. And from the circle and the square, you can get all other shapes. You can make all kind of polyhedrons, tetrahedrons, all different type of shapes come out of the circle and the square, including the triangle. So that's how sacred geometry was formed by Anu. It was deliberate. It wasn't some kind of accident or some kind of natural selection or none of that shit there. It's intelligent design. It was intended for us to build this simulation so that we could come into this nothingness, or what we're calling nothingness, and create somethingness and have experiences. You understand what I'm saying? So in order to have something, you have to destroy nothing. Nothing is something, if that makes sense. And in order to build something, you have to destroy this state of nothingness, okay? So that's the science of the circle and the square, what Freemasons use. It's not evil. They stole that shit from us to be able to run this realm now using the same principles and degrees and shit that we already had running this realm. They stole that information and wiped it out of me and you's brain and made me and you think it's some evil thing so they could just sit back and use that shit to run you. Do you understand? They're using your science against you. And this is when we're going into weaponized spirituality. Religion and all that masonry, secret society shit, that is weaponized spirituality. They use your spirituality and weaponized it against you, the melanated original man and woman, okay? So within this science of the circle and the square is how Anu, the first Anu, manifested himself and ordered all the other, what we want to call Anunnaki in their flesh state, all the other consciousnesses were ordered to incarnate into a physical form, okay? Because what happened is when we, as this unified consciousness, knew everything, and from the moment we started wanting, okay, we want to experience everything, now you're having disagreement, now you're having conflict, now you have positive, negative, now you have for, against. I like that idea, I don't like this idea, I like that one, he don't like this, I'm right, you're wrong. We have what's called clashing. And I'm talking on an energetic scale. So certain different frequencies and energies is not complementing no more in this oneness. Now it's clashing, it's conflicting. You understand? So this is why Anu's ordered all of this conflicting stuff. Okay, we have to manifest physically and sort this shit out and have all these experiences in a physical realm. You understand? So Anu manifested himself and the Anunnaki through this science of the square and the circle to incarnate into form, both positive and negative, yeah? So the Anunnaki are densified from Etherians, because the first Anu, when you're coming from the ninth plane, because remember, on the ninth plane, we exist as oneness, the all. There's no you, there's no me, there's no individuality, there's no single, there's just one thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? As it's called in the Emerald Tablet. So when you come down to the 8th density now you're coming into I-ness. We're coming out of this source, out of this allness, but on the 8th density, you're functioning as a full light being. So you won't even be able to see me right now. All you would see is just light shining off me. You just see a silhouette of me like a light person. Light is shining off us. This is us on the 8th density, or the 8th dimension, where we're vibrating at that ultimatum just underneath the 9th vibration. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So we incarnated from light beings. So when you talk about Anunnakis and stuff, they are Etherians. They are energy beings that densified into flesh and blood, offer the order of Anu to have this physical experience that we're calling reality. They're densified Etherians. The vibration has slowed down enough for them to become solid, liquid, gas, you know what I'm saying, the states of existence. So as I was saying, we were light beings, and we're light beings on the 8th and the 7th dimension. Once you come to the 6th dimension, you start fleshing out now. Do you understand what I'm saying? And make note how we said that the reptilians and archons, they can't go above the 6th dimension. Yeah? Now, when we speak about Ilyuin, when we tell you about, that's called the place on high, white folk call it Lyra, yeah, the constellation, just in and around the region of Orion and stuff, maybe a bit behind, is called Lyra. And within Lyra is where Ilyuin is. One of the solar systems, Ilyuin, is inside Lyra. But when we say Ilyuin, that's the same as saying illusion, yeah? Even when you go into Aramaic and Hebrew of the Bible, and they tell you how the Most High's name is Eluin, Eluin El. Yeah, it's the same word as Iluin, you understand? Which is the same word as illusion. And like I say to you guys, this holographic simulation is an illusion. And the chief illusionist is the Most High. This is his illusion. Do you understand? And the same way in your life, you're the chief illusionist. You are the chief illusionist in your life. You, wherever you're standing, is the center of the universe. That's why it spoke with you, the universe. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, let's go further. So I wanted you to note that Eluin, even that movie, Elysium, when they're showing you with Matt Damon and they go to the other world and stuff, All of these words are tied into the word illusion. And as I said, you're the chief illusionist on your stage. The world is a stage. Do you understand? The world is your oyster. It's a stage. You're the one who's supposed to be the chief spellcaster on yourself and the chief illusionist in your own experience, for you to have your own experience and create your own narrative and follow your own purpose and path. You understand what I'm saying? So we had in our cultures, linking to what I'm telling you here, what's called mind over matter sciences. So we could use our perception to see through the illusion. So we couldn't get caught out in certain tricks that certain low vibrational entities or certain entities that are cut off from source, they couldn't trap us with their deceptions as easy as they can now. Because we knew all of this. We knew what to look out for and shit. And that this whole thing was a giant illusion. Do you understand? And that started among us in places like Kemet. It didn't start in Rome or in Greece. We started that shit with the false religions. There was false religions in Kemet. There was priesthoods in Kemet trying to manipulate the people in Kemet. That's why certain people like Akhenaten pharaohs had to come and go against the grain. Like, hold on, this is a manipulation thing. We gone down the wrong road. So a lot of people think Egypt was perfect. You understand what I'm saying? And that all the badness came from like Rome or Samaria or Greece. A lot of the badness came from among us in fucking Kemet. We was doing that shit. The Amun priesthood was tricking people and shit and creating these false religions and false realities and worshipping false deities. We had that shit right among ourselves in Egypt. It didn't all just come from outside, you know. We started that shit in Egypt. Some of our people, when I'm talking about black devils that came into our shit, families and stuff, and infiltrated us from the inside out, yeah? But ultimately, we were studying what's called mind over matter sciences, or what's called alchemy, because we understood the power of perception, and that perception itself shapes your reality on Earth. And we understood the difference between an objective truth and a subjective truth, and that most of the truths that we're dealing with in this illusion is subjective. It's based on certain fucking stuff, whereas the objective truth ain't based on nothing. It's just the truth. And we found out that the truth isn't always reality, and reality isn't always the truth. Do you understand? To explain that, it's like they tell us that the atom was the smallest unit in physical creation for the last 200 years, yeah? When it wasn't. Like, atoms are made of quarks. So even though that was true, when they were teaching us, they were saying, okay, listen, atom is the smallest thing. That's true to us, because we don't know no better as humans. But from the moment humans found, hold on, atoms are made of quarks. Okay, that's not truth no more, or the thing that they've been teaching us. So that wasn't reality. You understand what I'm saying? And most things you're dealing with in this realm, you're dealing with half-truths. It's only half true. You understand? It's not really fully true. It's like if I say the cup is half full, someone can say, well, no, it's not. It's half empty. Both of them are true. Both are half true. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And we understood that perception shapes our reality for us, and perception shapes matter. Do you understand? We understood that this was a computer-generated holographic simulation coming from a higher dimension, a higher density. So our ancestors did everything they could to find out how they could get to that higher density, how they could get onto the higher plane to be more powerful on this plane. Master teachers like Tahuti were teaching neophytes these kind of sciences. We weren't into the religious side of stuff. We was more into the science, the alchemy, do you understand, of stuff. We was never into these religions. Religion was created to weaponize against us, to stop us from being alchemists, to stop us from being these powerful scientists that could use mind over matter and stuff. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, we realized that we generated ourselves, meaning you created yourself. We realized ourselves into creation. You are the creation of yourself on this planet. You ain't no creation of no Yahweh here or no spook God there or nah. You understand? You are the creation of yourself, because you can say, yo, there was an Adama project and a Lulu Amelu project and certain beings were created, but within that process, they didn't literally sit down and create you, who I'm speaking to now. Do you understand? So in essence, after they set things into play and you could say manipulated things or genetically engineered it this way, now the beings that are manifesting themselves are different than they were before they came and switched things around or dabbled with things or played with things. So even though they did that, that doesn't mean that they created you directly. Indirectly it does, but directly you wrote that into your own experience. You wrote all of this. You understand? The all. As a part of the all, you wrote all of this. You understand? That whether it's to do with the Anunnaki story, whether it's to do with religion, politics, race, you wrote all of this and you accepted it before you manifested into it because you wanted to have these experiences as a fractal or as a number of fractals because you belong to an oversoul. Your oversoul is the real you. So you could have 8 different versions of you on 8 different worlds right now. I'm only speaking to one of the versions of you. This is just one of your versions or fractals on Earth. You could well have a fractal who's a reptilian on a reptilian planet with a whole different experience. You could have a fractal in another consciousness where you're a Mzungu or something. We are having all of these experiences at the same time. They hint at these things in movies like, you know, the one, Jet Li, and Time Cop, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and all it. They show you these things. That it's not just people like me don't just make this shit up. Like, it's for real. They consider this stuff. They test it. They experiment with it. We realized ourselves into creation. We are the creation of ourselves on this planet, not some spook bigot God who sits in the clouds and is apathetic about all the evil and iniquity and killing that's going on the planet Earth. Do you understand what I'm saying? You are here to experience you. You're here to experience having experiences, but ultimately you're here to experience yourself. You're here to experience you. Do you understand? Not some spook, or you're sovereign. Yeah. So as a sovereign, you've been given a set of laws to govern yourself through this realm. That means you don't need no one to govern over you. And I'm sure you never signed no papers. I'm sure you never signed no papers to have no one govern you. You never agreed for no government to govern over you and make decisions that affect your existence in this realm, having the experiences you want. That shit's illegal. There was no papers that we signed as a people to say, you know what, we want these people to govern over us. It's cool. They can make all the laws for us, tell us what we can do, tell us what we can't do. All that shit's illegal. You're a sovereign being. You have your own 42 laws on my art that cover this entire realm. They will get you, they tell you how you should operate in this realm with a reciprocal relationship with everything in the physical creation. And there's certain codes and laws that you don't violate. You actually confess that you're living by these laws to keep yourself from breaking any of these laws, to keep yourself from infringing, because if you infringe, you have to pay. You're breaking cosmic law. So anybody saying that they're the government, that's already breaking the cosmic law, and they're going to pay for it. There ain't supposed to be no governments governing us any more than there's supposed to be governments governing lions or fucking elephants or eagles. They don't need none of that shit. They're telling us we're the most smartest creatures in this whole creation. How come we need governments and police and armies and politics and all this fuckery where animals don't need it? They're supposed to be dumb. They just get on with it. There's enough for everyone. Do you understand? Yo. So we have the laws of matter, sovereign laws that keep us from infringing on one another, because the biggest sin in this experience, in this realm, is you or us infringing on somebody else's experience here. That's the ultimate sin. All that religious shit, that's just weaponized spirituality. The ultimate sin is you infringing on somebody else's experience in here, trying to control them, trying to tell them what to do, trying to tell them what not to do, trying to judge them for what they decide, what experience they want to have. Do you understand what I'm saying? And don't get it twisted. I'm not saying like anything goes, you understand? But I'm saying it's a reason for it. Like, you can't have good without having evil. If we didn't have evil, we won't know what good was. Like, we're in a polar realm. So if I create good and the concept of golden age and good and bliss and abundance, I've automatically created all the opposites. So I've created evil, yeah? I've created scarcity, the opposite of abundance. I've created fear, the opposite of love, if you want to say it's the opposite of love. So in this polar reality, you can't create one thing. If I create hot, I create cold. If I create fast, I've automatically created slow. Do you understand where I'm going with it? So there's a lot of weaponized spirituality today, what we call religion, that we're trying to push on other people and police them with the shit that the archons are policing us with. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this is when religion tries to tell you, always do this or never do this. There's no human being that always, and there's no human being that nevers. Some of the time you're gonna do some shit you're not supposed to do, or some of the time you're not gonna do some shit that you really was supposed to do that could benefit you. Do you see what I'm saying? So when it comes to this self-righteousness of always do this and you can never do that or you're gonna go to hell and all that is all emotional blackmail. That's a part of the illusion of this reality. Yeah? And the illusion that we're in this matrix is made of many pillars. Religion is just one of them. I gave you them pillars at the end of the last video. I got cut off, so it's in the notes. If you haven't seen the notes of that living library, in the notes we give you all the pillars of what this matrix is. Yeah, the monetary system and religion and politics, they're just different pillars that hold up this, what we're calling the matrix. Yeah, three of the biggest ones is the monetary system, mass media, and religion. Do you understand? And we've spoke about before on other lives how the monetary system is only 6,000 years old. We never used to be operating on this monetary system. We used to be operating on a system of barter because we had abundance. So we had no need to create this industry where it's like everybody's scared they're gonna run out of some shit. So everybody's fighting to hoard up the resources and the food and everything. We never had that shit. We had bartering. We had an abundant culture before they brought in this matrix and fixed in the monetary system and religion and certain types of commerce, which is controlled by deceit. That's the word I'm looking for, control. When they're dealing with commerce and industry and that, they're dealing with deceit and interest and shit, where they getting more than it's even worth and stuff, and taking poor people's money with interest and shit. That's all evil. But that's been running for 6,000 years as a part of the matrix, or you can say the spell of sleep, which some people call the spell of Kingu, or the spell of Leviathan, or the spell of Amam, or the spell of spiritual and racial blindness. All of them things are speaking about the same spell that was cast on the original humanity and the original people of Earth, and shifted the timeline and the whole dynamics from this positive Edenic blissful state into this fucked up world that we're in now, where everybody's on greed, and it's to do with magic, and it's to do with hoarding, and it's to do with killing the environment. And they switched it. Do you understand what I'm saying? And they told us that it's always been like this, and we're used to this reality now, to the point where when people try and tell us about the fellas and silicone trees and trees that went way up into the sky, we think them people are crazy, when really it's the other way around. Them people are woke up and gone back to what used to be normal. And you that's questioning them, you're crazy, because you're still conditioned in this fucking system that makes everything that's real seem crazy. Do you understand? Reality is the illusion. Okay? So yeah, we had a bartering system. You come and give me some crops. Yo, I might give you 2 sheep. Yeah, we gonna trade. Or I'll give you some clothes. I make shoes or something. Or the carpenter down the road to get some rice, he gonna help you build you a shed or something. You know, we was bartering, we was trading goods and services and stuff before they came. They used that good intention that we had and that will to trade and share, and they turned it into this fucked up commerce, man, with this money, and we all become slaves to this money, economic slaves to it. Yeah, that was introduced in Sumeria. In 4000 BC, around that time, they introduced that shit in Sumeria, and they was running that monetary system before anyone else. And we're still using the exact same monetary system from that, what was introduced in Sumeria. Same as the time, with the 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes and all that. We'll get to that. In order for them to do that, they had to bring in the politics of religion. I've told you guys before, religion is politics and politics is religion. The two go hand in hand. You cannot separate them. Because from the moment you come and remove Ma'at, and now you're going to need a replacement, now you're going to need to make up all this ton of bullshit. And all this ton of bullshit you make up is going to need somebody to control it, to police it, to keep it going. So therefore, that's what religion is for you as an institution. They've weaponized your Ma'at and your spirituality against you, so that you can no longer use it to empower yourself. You actually use it to trap yourself in the form of Christianity or Islam or Hebrew Israelite Bible or Buddhism, or all of that shit is designed to keep you locked in the 10%, where you only down here projecting your power into some mystical other being who really is a bigot. If you read the words of the stuff, the bigot. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sexist, bigot, racist, all of that shit. So it's keeping us in these isms and schisms. And the Muslims, they say, yo, Christians are wrong and Jews are wrong. And the Jews say, yo, I hate Muslims and Christians are wrong. And the Christian says, yo, we're God's people, we're the only, you understand? And it just goes on and on and on and on. And this divide and rule leads to all the major wars, crusades, jihad, oh, how much people have died in the name of these false ass religions. It's an illusion of reality. It's weaponized spirituality. You understand what I'm saying? And it goes hand in hand with the politics, because they need politics to keep religion afloat. All politicians are religious. That's why they either go to church or they're in a secret society where they go and speak about these same kind of philosophical shit that they don't speak about on TV or in the public eye. But when behind closed doors, this is what they're on about. They ain't on about fucking whatever taxes you think they're talking about and stuff. They talking about the occult. They talking about spirituality. They talking about the Luciferian conspiracy and anything that they need to run it. And as I said, they base that on the weaponizing of your spirituality, of ma'at. Okay? Also, what you see as well is more and more the centralization of power. And as I said, a lot of things started with us in Kemet. We started centralizing power in Kemet. The pharaohs started doing that. You can go back to Zoser Neterket and Imhotep, and in Zoser's time, he centralized power. In his time, a lot of shit was going wrong in Kemet already by the second and third dynasty. You understand? So a lot of the pharaohs in the finite dynasty, you could see them as puppet rulers, because it's like the priesthood was controlling them. They never really was able to make a name for themselves and shit. They was weak. So when Zoser came, yeah, in the third dynasty, we're talking 2,774 according to the white man's dates, yeah? Stick a zero on the end, and that's closer to what I really believe. It's more like 27,000 years ago, but let's stick with what they say, yeah? 2,000 some odd years, so it's 2,778 BC, they say. Third dynasty, Zoser Neterket. He was the pharaoh ruling at the time of Father Imhotep. And when he came in, he thought, yo, I don't like these priests, you know, controlling my shit. Yeah, and I have to go to the city of Anu, the city of Heliopolis, to have my inauguration. They do it. The priests make him pharaoh. He was like, F that. I'm not going there. I'm making my own coronation. I'm going to coronate myself. So I'm going to move this shit to Memphis or Mennefer, and I'm going to revamp the whole shit. So I don't need these priests. They got too big for their boots. You understand? It's an ego thing. So now I'm going to revamp the thing. And when I do this, it's going to give me more power over my own affairs. And I'm going to employ my family as my courtiers and shit. So all my noblemen and stuff, I'm going to revamp the way. That's like centralization of power. Because now you keep more power to fewer people. It's not so spread out. So you can use the centralization of power in a good way, like Zoser and them were doing. And the changes he made lasted for, let's say, 1,500 years. That's how good these changes were, because before the shit was falling apart and it just weren't running smoothly, yeah? And in the same way, you can have it in a bad way, where they centralize power. Like they run this scamdemic and they say, okay, well, this virus or whatever, so now we need to know everything about everyone. Like your whole medical stuff, we need to know it. Yeah, we need to know what you ate yesterday, wherever. We need to know where you're going. If you go here. You understand? They're centralized their power. Yeah? So this is the thing that happens on both sides. Right now it's happening against us, not for us. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're centralizing all the stuff you see them doing now and all the psyops that you see them doing now. When you ask, you see people saying, yeah, but why are they doing it? Loads of people will ask this like they don't get it. Why are they doing it? It's for the centralization of power. They get more control over the things you can not only do, not only say, but even the things you're allowed to think. It's come to that. They will control what people are like. Oh, you're not allowed to think that, you know. Police might knock on your door and say, you know what, 2 days ago you had this thought, mate. So we've come to lock you up. Like, this is where they're going with this shit. Don't get it twisted. So we're seeing a centralization of power, kind of like what happened in Kemet with Zoser Neterket. But now our governments, and we shouldn't even call them governments, we should call them oligarchies. Because our governments now are working for big pharma and big tech. Like, big tech tells the government, this is what we want. And the government jumps, yo, we'll do it. Yeah, this is what we want, big pharma say. And the government go and do it. They can't not do it. Because these people are paying the government's bills. Remember, it's all money for these politician man them, you know. They got into this shit for money. They never got into this shit to help save no world. or create no solutions for no problems. They heard, yo, them politicians is raking it in. If I join the politics, yeah, and just sound a bit sweet, I could make a killing. Could run 2 houses, yeah. I could live off taxpayers' money and all, yo, MPs and shit. This is what they do. That's why they got into the thing. Do you understand? They never got into there to help fix nothing in the world. Don't get me wrong. Some of them may have. Like you have the 1-2 people that was really good people and they wanted to change the world, so they went into politics. That person's naive. Nigga, you ain't changing shit. Do you understand? Not through politics, yeah? So all of that stuff started in Kemet. Don't think that all of the bad stuff started with white folk. Some of that shit started with us too, man. Do you understand what I'm saying? It started with us. And what we're seeing now is the centralization of power. So it's the illusion of reality. What we're seeing is not what they're saying. Oh, there's this, you know what? I don't want to say the word, this running around and people are getting sick and people are dying and you have to take this thing. That's an illusion, mate. What underneath that is the centralization of power. In order for them to go into the next levels of what they want to do with this new world order, then they need more control over your medical. They need more control over your movements. They need more control of what you can do. They need more control of what you can say. They need more control over who you can interact with and what you can post on social media. All of that stuff, they centralizing the power and giving us the illusion of reality like there's some big, massive scare as to why we have to live like this when it's all a lie. That's why Boris Johnson was having parties, yeah, in fucking Downing Street for X amount of years, not one party. These niggas is having pizzas, they're sniffing cocaine, they getting head in the toilets, in the House of Commons. Some of these parties is in the nigga's house, is in Boris Johnson's house. Do you understand that? So this is how fake this shit is. All it was is a centralization of power. And they was power tripping because this same power that they're exercising on Earth, they don't have the same standards for themselves or for their own. Yeah, they have us in contempt. They laughing at us. So just be aware that the deception began in Kemet. It didn't begin outside of Kemet like it's everybody else's fault but us. It's fucking our fault as much as anybody else's fault. Me and you, black people. Do you understand? And the priesthood of Amun is where it really heated up. And because they won, you can say they won when it came to the Akhenaten thing, when he tried to change it back. They kind of fucking won. So they went on from that point, what is it, 1352 BC to 1336 BC, 17 years Akhenaten reigned, right? 18th dynasty, yeah? And then after that, they went from strength to strength, this priesthood. Don't get it twisted. They're back in power. So now they morph into all the different shit you see now, Freemasons, Islam, Kabbalism, yeah? Fucking Judaism, Hebraic teachings, Talmud. Yeah, this is all coming from the same source, from the same type of thinking, going back to that Amun priesthood, coming out with this false monotheism thing. Yeah. So the deception began in Kemet too, or the Nile Valley, among our own priesthoods, who corrupted out into these corrupt priesthoods, not because they're using the name of Amun, means that they're good. These niggas were like the Vatican. There was like any church that's running today that's selling this deception story with the Jesus story and stuff. We had our own versions of that. We had priests telling us porkies to make themselves. They became richer than the pharaohs. When Akhenaten was around, the priesthood was richer than him. He had to be like, hold on, somebody's got to check these guys. They got more land than us, than the royal family. They got more money, they got more reach. They can get you dead, make you go missing. So they became a problem. It started to clash in Kemet. The house of Pharaoh versus the priesthood. And the army. The army became its own thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you had that in Kemet and you also had that in Babylon. Babylon was already overtaken by that time. So you had what's in Sumerian Mesopotamia, what's called the Babylonian Brotherhood. That shit was that shit was already overran. Do you understand? And the same thing happened with the original Phoenicians, who was black people. They got overran with black devils and these leprous Canaanites. And they became known as Canaanites. I'm talking about white people Canaanites. And they came in with their phonetic languages. They changed the language from the pictograph. You understand? Because the pictographs, I'll get to that anyway, yeah? But they changed everything anyway. And also, this links into
Low battery.
all that time. Let me turn this off because I don't think it'll make a difference.
Power off.
All that time, yeah? All that time from ancient times coming up to the 1800s, we were running on a certain timeline, which we can call the Tartarian Timeline, yeah, where certain things in our history was erased so that they could give us this false history. Things like, okay, electricity was invented in the 1800s, or the first time man flew in the skies was the Wrights brothers and all this. All of that shit's a false doctrine, a false programming to give you a distorted view of reality. So you don't understand that we already had a better world than this world that we're seeing now, or that we've seen for the past 200 years. The world in the ancient times was much better than that. It wasn't what they showed you with just a bunch of semi-savage people running around with animal loincloths around their waist. That's false. That's their history. That's Mzungu history, caveman history. That's why they show you the Flintstones and all that Jetson shit. That's them. Do you understand? That's their history. But that's not our history. That's not the true our story or her story, the story of the matriarchal original Mennonite people. Okay? Our story starts in Atlantis. That means in America, in the West, yeah? Way before Egypt, way before the shit that they give you in the Bible and what's called Holy Scriptures, way before the last polar shift. We was in Atlantis with high technology, and Atlantis includes the Caribbean too, and Central and South America. It's not just like one tiny little island, yeah, in the ocean somewhere. The whole of that western region was considered as Atlan, or home away from home, or home in the far away. Do you see what I'm saying? And as I said in other lives, that connected all the way down, when you go down through Argentina and shit, it connected to Antarctica. Antarctica was a part of Atlantis. And it's only now that they're going to Antarctica, because it got flash frozen, a lot of shit was preserved there, where it never fucking decayed or disappeared. It was frozen there and stayed there for fucking 10,000 years or however long it's been there. So now they've gone to Antarctica and they've found these giants in what you call stasis, which is like suspended sleep. Some of them died in that sleep, they're dead. Some of them ain't dead, they woke the fuckers up, these Nephilims, and they got their super soldier programs. They also went into, discovered that the earth has a hollow opening in the middle of it, and remember the plane is flat. So the North Pole and the South Pole is the same thing, it's just a hole in the center of the fucking earth. There's no North Pole up there and South Pole down here, that's some fucking bullshit, do you understand? But in essence, you do have a dome on top, yeah, of Eva, if you want to call it glass, and you have a dome underneath. So you have a hollow earth where you could go in that hole and you're inside the hollow earth. And then up here you do have an atmosphere which circles, and that's why we have storms and hurricanes and shit. And that's why if you pull the plug out the water don't just fall down the sink, it spirals down the sink. You understand? Ask yourself why when you pull out a plug, the water don't just fall down the plug. It spirals, because some of these people who really buy into that flat earth stuff, when I say that flat earth stuff, I mean all of the wrong bits of it. They buy into the whole fucking psyops of it, yeah, and they tell you stuff like, oh, the earth's not spinning, the earth's not mooning, but the fucking wind's moving. Yeah, when I pull the plug out in the sink, it shows me what way this shit's spinning, what kind of movement's going on, because that's only following the air and the atmosphere. Do you understand what I'm saying? It may be that the land itself is not moving. I don't think that the plane moves at all, but definitely the air and the wind and stuff circulates in a rotation in a spiral way, just like our whole universe does and shit. You understand? See, anytime I'm having a good time speaking to you, like, I don't like my spliff till late. Right, where was I? Because I did this kind of haphazard. I know it's nothing like the last live, yeah? I just wanted to make these points. Yeah, so they found Anunnakis frozen in the Antarctica. Remember when I say Anunnaki, Anunnaki is just a title. So it could mean Pleiadians, it could be black gods, it could be reptilians, it could be greys. They found Anunnakis, and they found Nephilims, which means fallen angels, which usually translates as giants. And the reports that are coming from a lot of sources do seem to hint that they are giants, like 9 to 12 foot tall and stuff. And America and other governments are interested in seeing if they can weaponize these Nephilims and use them in their super soldier program. This goes back to what I was speaking to Akasha, my daughter, about how Hitler never died, and before World War II even started, they had already completed their base in Antarctica and moved 50,000 soldiers, Nazis, out into the Antarctica base where they peopled it. So at the end of World War II, when they're meant to have killed Hitler, which was his clone, Hitler escaped in one of his submarines, and all of his best Nazi soldiers to join the fucking colony in Antarctica. You understand? And when Hitler went there, because he was led there by the extraterrestrials they were messing with, these Nazis had been speaking to reptilians and fucking Pleiadians and stuff since the 1850s. You understand? 1850s, and we'll break down that date for you. So it's these archons that told them about certain technology to do with Atlantis that's still in Antarctica and pyramids and shit. So the Nazis already went there and already found this shit that the fucking archons was telling them about, which included a supercomputer, which was supposed to be in the Antarctic, like a quantum. I don't know if it was a quantum computer. I think it was a supercomputer. But this computer runs a lot of shit in this realm. You understand? So Hitler and them went to access and get this computer because the archons, for some reason, they wanted this technology. Okay? So Antarctica is not what they told you. That's another illusion of reality. They tell us at the bottom of the map is just another massive continent, yeah, that's just full of ice, and they don't really explain nothing else about it. All the other stuff is kind of like an enigma. You hear shit's leaking out. Like they find underneath the ice lion bones and shit. And if you go to the Perry Reese map, it's a controversial map that shows Antarctica with no ice on there. Yeah, and this map was made in the 1600s by some Turkish admiral or something named Reese, Perry Reese or something like that. So this Reese map exposes that, hold on, in our recent history, Antarctica's had a time when it had a tropical climate. Tropical climate means black people. Ain't no white folk live in no tropical climate. So if they telling you, yo, they found lion bones and shit underneath the ice, and there's tropical plants and shit that you only find in tropical climate. So that means Antarctica was somewhere else, or it had a different kind of continent. And that means if it was a tropical climate, then there was definitely black people that lived there. So they don't want to let out none of this truth because it's going to lead you down the fucking road where I'm trying to lead you. Do you see what I'm saying? So every government since 2018, because this is recently they found them giants. I think part of the ice melted and exposed some massive UFO craft there. So they start digging and find all of this shit underneath the ice, and not far underneath either. Yeah, they find a whole different reality underneath there. Since 2018, all world governments, all of them worthy of the name government, have been to Antarctica, the heads of them, including our government in Britain, including Trump and them when Trump was in office and shit. They was going to have even the Pope, yeah, even the Arabs. Why is all these world leaders keep going to Antarctica and they're not telling you what for? They just mug you off on the news and say, oh, this guy went to Antarctica. None of us can go there. You can't just book a flight tomorrow and say, listen, I'm going to Antarctica because I want to check it out. I've heard stuff. You understand? So why is it so important for all these world leaders to go to Antarctica? Obviously, we've given you the answer already on other lives, so it don't make no sense going down that vein. I'm just trying to make you think along these lines that everything we're seeing and we're being told is a fucking lie. We're in an illusion right here. And it's only when we stop being fractals and we go back to accessing our higher self that the parts start coming together. Like you start realizing that, hold on, all my thoughts here come from myself on the fourth dimension. And all my thoughts on the fourth dimension come from myself on the fifth dimension. And all my thoughts on the fifth dimension come from myself on the sixth dimension, going all the way back to source. So really, it's you preparing yourself. It's you giving yourself the thoughts. It's you projecting yourself from the higher dimension into the lower dimension. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you go back to the teachings, this is not the first time that our earth is trying to be overtaken by dark forces, or I should say shadow forces, who are disconnected from source energy, i.e. reptilians, Pleiadians, mantids, greys, Markabian greys, all of them demiurge arcanas beings, low vibrational beings who are cut off from source. They can't create nothing, so they have to come and mess with other people who are still connected to source. And what they have to do is convince them that you're not connected to source, so you think you're not connected to source, so therefore they can steal your source energy. They can vamp down on you because you're unaware of your own connection back to the source. Do you understand? But they was defeated before by Tahuti and his masters, and that's why he writes in the Emerald Tablets that these guys appeared as men, but when we uttered certain spells on these guys, they weren't fucking men. The disguise came off and they were snake-headed. He's telling you about these same archons, these reptilians who we flushed them off the earth before, but they hid in the pockets. They hid in the caverns of the earth. and they hid in certain areas where you can't see them, waiting and scheming for a way to come back here. I told you guys that it was the Muzungu coming up from the 1600s, coming all the way up into the 1800s, that was dealing with the occult, that was dealing with certain Babylonian magic and dark rituals. People like Jack Parsons and Robert Oppenheimer and Rasputin and what's his name? Alistair Crowley and all of these Anton Levi of the Church of Satan and stuff. They were doing the rituals to bring these archons back into our realm and give them a window or give them a doorway to come back into this realm after we had already kicked them out. And we was the gatekeepers. So we was guarding all the portals to make sure that certain entities couldn't walk into our realm. Whether it was Huayamaka in, where's that? Is it in Bolivia or wherever? That Stargate, the gate in the wall, that stone door in the wall. Huayamaka, is it in Peru? It's in one of them places anyway. And then there's another one in Turkey. I'm not talking Göbekli Tepe. I'm talking where they got them 4 Anunnaki-looking heads in that weird-ass place. They got one of them doors that look just like Huayamaka, and apparently somebody went in Huayamaka doorway and came out in Turkey doorway. Like, they're all fucking connected. We was the keepers of these, we was the gatekeepers, like you see in 4, when they make Idris Elba the gatekeeper. If you want to go into another realm from Asgard and stuff, you have to go through my man. And that's why you see our ancestors with all the staffs, with the monatomic gold and stuff, where they was the controllers of the portal. Muzungu, today, they're trying to reopen some of these portals by messing with CERN technology and the Large Hadron Collider and stuff. That's what it's for, because they can't open them ones we shut. They don't really know how to work them like that. So now, these archons have returned in the form of organizations and corporations. All these organizations and corporations, from your Facebook to your McDonald's to your Pfizer to all these at the top, these are archon fucking organizations or corporations that are a part of this matrix and why this matrix is running the way that it's run. And these organizations and corporations, who are the demiurge, who are the archon, they run the government. The government doesn't run them. The government doesn't get to tell Pfizer or whoever else what to do. Pfizer and them tell your government what the fuck to do. Your government don't work for you. They don't work for me or you. They work for the fucking archon. Obviously, you already know all this. I'm just giving you this context in this live as the illusion of reality. All of these things is an illusion. Whether it's the police, a lot of people say, oh, but we need the police. We need courts. Right now, there's a big argument, defund the police, coming from America. Yeah? A lot of people are like, hold on, we need the police. If we defund the police, this shit just turns into chaos. But why do you think that? So that means you're not capable of governing yourself. As I've just told you, the animals don't need a government. They're capable of governing themselves and respecting the natural order and the natural laws of things. Like a lion ain't just going to wake up one day and say, do you know what, I feel like sleeping with a hippo. So I'm going to go outside of my race and I'm just going to go and sleep with a hippo. Or even, that's far-fetched. Let's say a tiger don't just say today, okay, I'm going to go and look for a leopard because I think the spots are nicer than the stripes. So I'm just going to look for a leopard because both of us are cats, and I'm just going to sleep with the leopard. We're going to have some like leopard tiger cubs. Humans are the only ones that do that. We're the only ones, because of this illusion, where we go out. How come animals don't do it? How come an eagle don't mix with a fucking falcon? You understand? How come a chicken don't go and mix with a swan? They're both birds, but we do it. Yeah? We've got all these different humans. We're all humans, but we're our own humans. Just like the tiger's got his stripes, he gonna want to keep his stripes. So he don't want to go and lose his stripes and go and mate with something and then, oh, your stripes don't mean nothing, mate. Or the lion in his hair, his mane. He likes his mane. His mane ain't insignificant. So he ain't gonna mate with another creature and just disregard his mane. But you do it as humans. You white people sleep with black people and you black people sleep with Indian people and you think it's normal. But Mother Nature doesn't think it's normal. As I just said to you, you don't get falcons sleeping with fucking condors or vultures saying, yo, I like golden eagles. I'm going to sleep with a golden eagle. Mother Nature don't support that shit. That shit's totally unnatural. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. Mother Nature, that's unnatural for her. She don't have that shit in her natural order of stuff. If she had that in her natural order, we wouldn't have different species of animals. We'd just have a haphazardness. You don't even know what that bird is. That bird could be half osprey, half vulture, half chicken, half duck. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a natural order of stuff, but they've given us this false reality. Like things have always been like this. Like there's a benefit for us to just all be mixing, and color doesn't matter and race don't matter, and it doesn't matter what color Jesus was, but he's always white. Or it doesn't matter what color God was, but he's always white. Do you understand? We're living in an illusion, and we're the sick ones. We're sick because we sit down and accept this shit. We sit down and most we do is moan about it. So the demiurge is back, and what we're seeing today is nothing new. I said all that so I could show you that we faced this same shit before, and we defeated this shit, just like we're going to defeat it again. But it's going to take us to get back into these teachings to understand what the fuck we're really dealing with here, because everybody's being vague. They're not really telling you what the fuck this thing is, what we're facing. Now we're going to have to come back together as the whole. Unify, hold on, we're just fractals here, you know. This Jedefre ain't really real. Jedefre is an experience that I'm having. It's an avatar that I'm having, the experience through. But ultimately, I'm beyond Jedefre. Do you understand? This is just an aspect of myself. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to get stuck in this aspect. Like, this is all there is of me. This might be like struggle to be 1% of who Jedefre, me in my essence really am. Or you really are. Yeah. So yeah, as I said, you've got a flat plane. It's flat. Yeah. I'm not talking about flat earthers and all their nonsense that they come with, even though there's truth in there and there's a whole bunch of daft shit in there. I'm talking about the plane of the earth, what we're walking on, this land that we're standing on is fucking flat. Yeah. And then you have a dome over it, or what the Bible calls the firmament. And underneath you have a dome too, you understand? And so you can go into hollow earth. My battery's about to die, yeah? So I'll cut this and I'll continue this at another time when I've got more battery, yeah? So, yeah, and I want to separate just before I go. Hollow earth is not the same as the earth's cave-ins. The earth's shell, the crust of the earth, the crust, just like let's say it's 3 miles thick. Aliens come to earth and live in the crust. They're not living in hollow earth. Hollow earth is a realm that's governed like this realm, even better than this realm. You understand? Aliens can't go there and just do what they want. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's a whole fucking laws and all types of shit that's going on inside of our earth. But in the crust of the earth, the outer ring, which is about 2-3 miles thick, there's all type of entities that live in the fucking earth's crust. You see? There's all type of entities. I got about halfway. Yeah? So in part 2, I'll try and do it later when my daughter's, when she goes back to her mum's. I'll charge my phone, I'll try and do it later because the ending's good. But rather than waste this live and try and just, you understand, we'll come back later. Let's say sometime between 7 or 8 or something. I'll come back, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, I enjoyed talking to you guys. We love you all. That's the end of the transmission. Anything you want to know or discuss later, put it in the comments when I post this thing up and we'll continue later on. Namaste.